The thunder was so loud it shook my car windows. Lightning flashed across the dark sky as I drove down Maple Street toward Emma's house. I had baked her favorite chocolate chip cookies, the soft, chewy kind she loved since she was little. My daughter was going to have a baby in 6 months, and she'd been feeling sick every morning. I just wanted to bring her something sweet to make her smile. When I got to the big white house, all the windows were bright with yellow light. I could hear people talking and laughing inside like they were having fun. I pressed the doorbell and waited. Nobody came. I pressed it again, holding it longer this time. Still nothing. My heart started beating faster. I walked around the side of the house where there's a small wooden fence. The gate wasn't locked, so I pushed it open. That's when I saw something that made my whole body freeze. Emma was sitting on her knees in the pouring rain, soaking wet. The pretty yellow dress she bought last Tuesday was stuck to her skin. Her hair was dripping water down her face, mixed with tears. Her hands were shaking as she held them against her chest. She looked so cold and scared. "Emma!" I shouted and ran to her as fast as I could. I dropped the cookie tin and fell down next to her on the wet ground. She looked at me with red, puffy eyes. "Mama, I just bought one dress for the baby. Just one dress." Her voice was so quiet I could barely hear it over the rain. Something hot and angry filled up my chest. I took off my jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. She was shivering so much. I picked her up in my arms, even though my back hurt. I used to be really good at sports when I was young, and some of that strength came back right then. I carried her toward the back door of the house. Then I lifted my foot and kicked that door so hard it flew open and banged against the wall. Everyone inside stopped talking. They all turned to look at me standing there, dripping wet, holding my daughter. "God sees what you did," I said loudly. Then everything went quiet. The hospital hallway was bright white and smelled like cleaning soap. Doctors and nurses rushed past me, pushing Emma on a bed with wheels. Her lips looked almost purple, and her whole body was shaking. They took her through 2 big doors that swung closed behind them. I was left standing there alone, with puddles of water forming under my feet. I sat down in a hard plastic chair, still holding the cookie tin. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The bright lights hurt my eyes. I stared at the white floor and remembered something from a long, long time ago. Back when I was younger, I stood on a stage with a shiny gold medal around my neck. People were clapping and cheering for me. My name was in the newspaper. They called me the Lightning Runner because I was so fast. My husband James was there that day, smiling bigger than I'd ever seen. He helped me train every single day. He believed in me. We were so happy back then. But then one day during practice I fell really badly. My ankle twisted in a way it wasn't supposed to, and I heard a scary cracking sound. The cheering stopped. The Lightning Runner couldn't run anymore. After that, James changed. He became mean and angry. He would say hurtful things like, "You broke everything we worked for." At first I thought he was just sad, but sad people don't throw things at walls. Emma was only 9 years old when she started stepping between us. She was so small and brave. "Stop, Daddy. Don't yell at Mama," she would cry. I'll never forget one rainy night just like this one. James was so angry he threw a plate across the room. Emma tried to protect me, and he pushed her away. She fell backward and hit her head on the corner of our wooden coffee table. Blood came from a cut on her head, a thin red line that left a tiny scar she still has today. That night I packed our clothes in 2 suitcases. I took Emma's hand and we left that house forever. I promised myself Emma would never feel that kind of hurt again. I worked 3 jobs to give her a good life. I made sure she felt safe and loved every single day. But sitting in that cold hospital hallway, I felt like I had failed. I protected her from one bad person, only to watch another one hurt her even worse. A nurse with kind eyes came through the door. She walked slowly toward me. "Mrs. Patterson," she said gently. "The doctor needs to talk to you." I nodded, but my mind felt foggy and far away. I was thinking about the past and the present at the same time, about the runner I used to be and the mother I am now. Somewhere deep inside me, I felt that old fire starting to burn again. The same strength that helped me win races. The same courage that helped me leave James. I didn't know it yet, but this fight was just beginning. It wasn't anywhere close to finished. The doctor came out a few minutes later. He looked really tired. He had blue doctor clothes on and glasses that were a little foggy. He pulled down his mask and looked at me with serious eyes. "Mrs. Patterson," he said quietly, like he didn't want to hurt me with his words. "We tried our very best, but Emma got too cold from being outside in the rain. Her body couldn't stay warm enough, and it made the baby come too early. I'm so sorry. The baby didn't make it." Everything around me stopped. The sounds of the hospital, people walking, machines beeping, even the rain outside, it all disappeared. The cookie tin slipped out of my hands. It hit the floor with a loud bang, and cookies scattered everywhere across the clean white tiles. I just stared straight ahead. I couldn't move. I don't know how long I sat there. Time didn't feel real anymore. The doctor's words kept echoing in my head over and over. My grandchild, the tiny baby Emma talked about with such joy and hope, was gone. When they finally let me go into her room, she looked so tiny in that big hospital bed. Her skin was white as paper. Her hair was still damp and messy on the pillow. A thin tube was in her hand, giving her medicine drop by drop. I pulled a chair close to her bed and sat down. I could see my own face reflected in the dark window, looking old and sad. After what felt like forever, Emma's eyes slowly opened. She turned her head and looked at me. The first thing she did was touch her belly. Her hand stopped moving. Her eyes got really big and scared. She looked at my face, searching for an answer. I didn't say anything, but she understood. A broken cry came out of her mouth. "Mama, please," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please don't be mad at Marcus. I still love him. He didn't mean for this to happen. It was just his mom who was being mean. She doesn't like me." Her words felt like knives stabbing my heart. Even now, after everything that happened, she was protecting the man who hurt her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her and make her see the truth. But I didn't do any of that. I took her cold hand in mine and pressed it against my cheek. "Just rest, sweetheart," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "We'll talk about everything later." But deep down I already knew. This wasn't the end of the pain. It was only the beginning of my war. 3 days went by. The hospital room smelled like medicine and old flowers that were dying. Emma's phone sat on the table next to her bed, silent and dark. She kept staring at the door like she was waiting for someone to walk in. Every time we heard footsteps in the hallway, she would look up really fast with hope in her eyes. But then the footsteps would pass by, and her face would fall again. On the third night I couldn't stand it anymore. I walked out into the quiet hallway and called Marcus. The phone rang 1 time, then 2 times, then it went to a recorded message. His cheerful voice said, "Hey, you've reached Marcus. Leave me a message." Hung up. Then I called his mother, Mrs. Foster. She answered quickly. "Mrs. Foster, this is Diana," I said. "Emma is in the..." Click. She hung up on me. Right then, the anger inside me caught fire again. I left the hospital that night with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I drove all the way across town to their fancy neighborhood with the big houses and perfect lawns. When Marcus opened the door, he looked annoyed, like I was bothering him. He stood there in his expensive pajamas, holding a glass with brown liquid in it. "What are you doing here?" he said in a lazy, rude voice. "Why didn't you come see Emma?" I shouted at him. "Do you even know what happened? Emma lost the baby because of what you did." He smiled, a slow, mean smile that made my blood run cold. "Why would I come?" he said. "Your daughter couldn't even keep a baby. Maybe she should have learned her place instead of thinking she could be part of my family." I couldn't breathe for a second. Everything went quiet in my head. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to throw that glass out of his hand. I wanted to yell until my throat hurt. But then something changed inside me. The hot anger turned into something cold and sharp. My voice became very quiet and calm. "You're going to be sorry for saying that, Marcus." He just laughed and took a sip from his glass. "Go ahead, old lady. Nobody's going to believe you anyway." I turned around without saying another word and walked back into the rain. My legs felt weak and shaky, but my mind was clear and sharp like glass. I knew being angry wouldn't help me win. What I needed was proof. That's when I noticed something small and red blinking on the house across the street. It was a camera. It belonged to Mr. Chen, an old man who lived there. Emma had told me about him once. He put cameras up after someone stole packages from his porch. A tiny spark of hope started glowing in my chest. I crossed the wet street and knocked on Mr. Chen's door. When he opened it, his eyebrows went up in surprise at seeing me soaking wet and shaking. "Mrs. Patterson, what's wrong?" he asked. I took a deep breath. "I need your help," I said. "I think your camera saw what happened that night." Mr. Chen brought me inside his warm house that smelled like tea and old books. He didn't ask any questions. He just sat down at his desk and turned on his computer. He pulled up the video from the night of the storm. My hands were shaking as the screen came to life. And there it was, everything. Emma kneeling in the rain, shivering and crying. Through the lit-up window, you could see people inside laughing and having fun at a party. Then Mrs. Foster walked past the window. She looked outside, saw Emma there, and just turned away like it didn't matter. Mr. Chen shook his head and muttered, "Some people have no heart." He put the video onto a small silver stick that holds computer files. He wrote the date on it with a marker and handed it to me. "Get justice for that girl Diana," he said firmly. "She deserves better than this." I thanked him, holding that little silver stick like it was the most important thing in the world. The next morning I went straight to a lawyer's office downtown. Her name was Sarah Wells, and people said she was really smart and good at her job. She listened to my whole story without interrupting once. When I gave her the silver stick, she put it in her computer. The video played while we both watched in silence. Her face got serious. Her jaw got tight. "This," she said finally, "is very strong proof. But Diana, the Foster family has a lot of money and powerful friends. They're going to fight back hard. Are you ready for that?" I looked right into her eyes. "I already lost my grandchild. I'm not scared of them." She nodded. "Then we'll take them to court for hurting Emma and causing harm. Leave everything else to me." For the first time in days I felt like maybe, just maybe, things would be okay. I went home that evening feeling tired but a little bit hopeful. But hope doesn't last long when you're fighting against people like the Fosters. The next morning I woke up and found my house was a mess. Drawers were pulled open. Papers were thrown everywhere. The lock on my back door was broken. My heart started pounding as I searched everywhere. I looked through my purse, my desk, under the couch. The silver stick was gone. So were Emma's hospital papers. Before I could even call Sarah, my phone started buzzing with messages. Neighbors were talking. People I barely knew were whispering. Posts on the internet said Emma had lied about being pregnant to get money from Marcus. They said she was crazy and a liar. They didn't just steal my proof. They were stealing Emma's truth and making people think she was bad. And that's when I understood. This wasn't just mean. This was war. That night, I sat alone in the dark living room. The house was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming. My phone buzzed again with another message. But this one was different. There was no name, no greeting. Just one sentence that made my heart almost stop. "I have another copy of the video. Meet me at Rosie's Diner tomorrow at 3 p.m. Come by yourself." I stared at those words for a long time. I didn't know if I should feel happy or scared. This could be a trap. Someone trying to trick me. But what choice did I have? They took everything, my proof, my voice, Emma's good name. If there was even a tiny chance this was real, I had to try. The next afternoon I got there early. Rosie's Diner was on a quiet street with old buildings. It had red booths and a smell of coffee and pie. I sat by the big front window, watching the light rain outside. Every second felt like an hour. At exactly 3 o'clock, the bell on the door jingled. A young woman walked in wearing a raincoat with the hood up. Her sneakers squeaked on the floor. She looked around nervously before walking toward my table. When she finally pulled her hood down, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Sophie Foster, Marcus's younger sister. She looked different from the fancy girl I'd seen at family dinners. Her hair was in a simple ponytail. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying, but she looked strong and determined. She sat down across from me and slid a small silver stick across the table. "This is what you need," she said quietly. I stared at it, then at her. "Why are you helping me, Sophie?" She took a shaky breath. "Because my family destroys everyone around them. My mother controls all of us like we're her toys. She wouldn't let me go to art school when that's all I ever wanted. She made me break up with the boy I loved because he wasn't rich enough. And now she's doing the same thing to Emma. I can't watch it anymore." Her voice was shaking, but her eyes were fierce and brave. I saw everything that night. I tried to open the door to help Emma, but my mother had locked it from the inside. I watched Emma sitting in the rain through my bedroom window, and I couldn't do anything. For a moment we just sat there looking at each other. Then I reached across the table and held her hand tight. "You did something very brave," I whispered. "You just gave Emma her voice back." Outside, the rain had stopped falling. But inside my heart, I knew the biggest storm was still coming. The next morning I went straight to Sarah's office. I was holding that silver stick so tight my fingers hurt. She looked surprised to see me. When I put the stick on her desk, she didn't say anything. She just picked it up and put it in her computer. The video played again. Emma in the rain, the party behind her, people laughing while she suffered. Sarah watched the whole thing without blinking. When it ended, she leaned back in her chair and put her fingers together like she was thinking hard. "They made a big mistake," she said. "When they broke into your house to steal your proof, they became criminals, not just people we're suing. And now we have everything we need." Her eyes got sharp and focused. "But we won't just win in court. They used the internet and lies to hurt you. We'll use the truth to fix it." That same afternoon, Sarah set up a meeting with a newspaper reporter named Tom Martinez. He was known for writing stories about people who do bad things and get away with it. We met him at a small coffee shop near the courthouse. He had a camera bag on his shoulder. I told him everything from the beginning: the storm, the hospital, Sophie's help, all of it. When he watched the video and saw the hospital papers Sarah got, he slowly shook his head. "This isn't just a story," he said. "This is wrong on every level." The next day, his article went up on the internet with a headline that said, "Pregnant woman left in the rain by rich in-laws." Within hours, millions of people were reading it. A blurred picture of Emma became a symbol for people who suffer in silence. #JusticeForEmma started spreading on every website. Thousands of women shared their own stories about being hurt by people they loved. And then the Fosters fought back. Marcus stood in front of TV cameras outside his big house. His tie was straight and perfect. His voice sounded fake and confident. "These lies are meant to hurt my family," he said. "My wife has problems with her mind. She made up the pregnancy. My mother and I tried to help her, but she wouldn't listen." I watched him on TV with Sarah and Tom. My blood felt hot with anger, but Sarah just smiled a little, staying calm. "Let him talk," she said. "He just made things worse for himself." Minutes later, Tom posted another article. This time, he included real hospital documents that proved Emma was pregnant and that she lost the baby because she got too cold from being outside too long. Everything changed overnight. The Fosters' wall of lies crumbled and fell apart. Reporters crowded around their house. People gathered with signs. The family that everyone used to respect became hated all across the country. And in all the chaos, I knew one thing for sure. Justice wasn't just a dream anymore. It was really happening. The courthouse was packed on the morning we went to court. Outside, cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters yelled questions so loud they echoed off the walls. Inside, the air felt heavy and tense. I sat next to Emma, holding her cold hand in mine. Sarah stood at the front looking calm and professional with her papers organized neatly. When Marcus walked in with his lawyer, everyone got quiet. He looked tired and pale, but he still tried to smile like nothing was wrong. His mother didn't come. People said she got sick after all the bad news. The judge was an older man with gray hair and serious eyes. He told everyone to be quiet, and the trial started. Marcus's lawyer tried to make Emma look bad. He brought in people who said Emma was too emotional and couldn't be trusted. Some even said she faked being pregnant to get money. Every lie hurt like a punch, but Sarah stayed calm and strong. When it was our turn, she stood up with the confidence of someone who knows they're going to win. "Your Honor," she began, "we have something that tells the truth better than any words can." The lights dimmed and a big screen lit up. The video played in complete silence. Emma kneeling in the pouring rain, holding her stomach, shivering and crying while the Fosters laughed inside their warm house. The sound of thunder and rain filled the quiet courtroom like a sad ghost. People in the audience gasped. Some covered their mouths. Even the judge leaned forward, his face getting tight with anger. By the time the screen went black, several people on the jury had tears in their eyes. Then Sarah called her last witness, Sophie Foster. Marcus's head snapped up so fast. He looked shocked and couldn't believe his sister was walking to the front of the room. She wore a simple black dress. Her hands shook a little, but her voice was steady and clear. She told everyone the truth. About the control, the cruelty, the lies. "I'm not here to destroy my family," she said. "I'm here because the truth matters more than anything. Emma deserves justice, and so does the baby she lost." Marcus's fake confidence disappeared. His face went white. His lawyer stopped arguing. The judge only needed a moment before he made his decision. Guilty of causing emotional harm and putting someone in danger that led to serious injury. Marcus got a punishment that meant he had to see a therapist and pay a lot of money. But the real victory wasn't the punishment. It was when Emma turned to me with tears running down her face and whispered, "It's finally over, Mama." And for the first time in so many months, I actually believed her. In the weeks after the trial ended, all the craziness slowly went away. Reporters stopped calling. The Foster house stayed dark and empty. And for the first time in forever, Emma slept through the whole night without waking up scared. Mrs. Foster died not long after the trial ended. Even though she was mean to us when I heard she passed away, I felt a strange sadness. Cruelty was like armor protecting her, but I wondered what kind of pain made her that way. About a week later, Sophie came to visit us. She looked thinner but happier, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. "I'm moving away from here," she said. "I got accepted into an art school in New York. I'm finally going to paint and create things that matter." Emma hugged her so tight and whispered, "You already did something that mattered." Life moved forward slowly but surely. With the money from the court case and my savings, Emma and I rented a small shop space downtown. She always loved drawing and making clothes. One morning while we were having coffee, she said, "Mama, what if we start something together?" That's how New Beginnings Boutique was born. A small shop where we made comfortable, pretty clothes for women who were going to have babies. It wasn't fancy or loud, but it was special and meaningful. Emma wanted every woman who wore her clothes to feel beautiful, even when they were carrying both life and sadness. First, things were hard. We had bills to pay and not many customers. But Emma never gave up. She poured her whole heart into every piece of clothing, every button, every stitch. Slowly, people started hearing about us. Customers came not just for the clothes, but because they felt welcomed and cared for in our little shop. I helped her with the money stuff, ordering supplies and keeping track of appointments. Watching her confidence grow back was better than winning any court case. Sometimes I would catch her standing by the window, looking outside at the sunny street. Her hand would touch the small scar on her forehead, and a gentle smile would appear on her face. "That scar used to remind me of being hurt," she told me once. "Now it reminds me that I'm strong." The storm had broken us into pieces once, but from those broken pieces, We built something even better. Ourselves. 1 year later, spring came back to our city. The air smelled like flowers and fresh-cut grass. One afternoon after we closed the shop, Emma said she wanted to take a walk in the park near the river. The sky had some gray clouds, but warm sunshine peeked through, making everything glow gold. Halfway through our walk, it started to sprinkle just a little gentle rain that felt nice and clean. We didn't run to hide. Instead, we stood there watching the tiny drops catch the light and sparkle. Then, through the breaking clouds, a rainbow appeared, stretching across the whole sky in beautiful colors. Emma looked up at it with bright, clear eyes. Her hair got a little wet and shiny. "You know, Mama," she said softly. "For the longest time I thought I would never feel happy again. But now I do. Thank you for fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself." I put my arm around her and pulled her close. "I'll always fight for you, sweetheart," I whispered back. "Always and forever." We stayed there for a while, listening to the river flowing and children playing somewhere nearby. It hit me how peaceful everything had become. No yelling, no fear, just quiet peace. That's when I realized something I wish every woman in the world could know. No storm lasts forever, even when it feels like it will. The truth might be hidden for a while, buried under lies and fear, but it never disappears. It just waits for someone brave enough to dig it up and bring it into the light. To everyone listening to this story right now, please remember this. Your silence doesn't protect anyone. Speak up, stand tall, and never let fear steal your voice away from you. Because after every single storm, no matter how dark and scary it gets, light always finds its way back. And when it does, you'll be standing there, stronger than you ever thought possible, ready to face the sunshine. The storm came for us, but we survived. And if we can do it, so can you. Never give up. Never stop fighting for what's right. And never, ever let anyone make you kneel in the rain. This is Diana Patterson, sharing my story on Her Voice Unfolds, reminding you that your voice matters. Thank you for listening.